There's a place where time works differently, hidden just beyond the edge of our world. And legend says if you spend a single evening there, you might just come home to find everyone you've ever known has been dead for centuries. Welcome to Time Slipped. I'm Nikki Rich, and I just spent the last week wandering around Scotland, and everywhere I went, I kept running into the same kinds of stories. Stories about a hidden world, a place where time moves differently, a place that's next to our own, a place called the Otherworld. Let's open the file. Long before anyone imagined time machines, the people of Scotland and Ireland already had an explanation for missing time. It wasn't science, it wasn't magic, it was geography. They believed another world existed alongside our own, hidden, but never very far away. In Ireland, one of its names was Tir na Nog, the land of eternal youth. In Scotland, people often spoke of Elfland, but for today, we'll call it by my personal favorite, the Otherworld. Different names, same idea. A place where the ordinary rules of life simply didn't apply. No sickness, no aging, no death, and perhaps most importantly, no ordinary passage of time. Now, according to the stories, the Otherworld wasn't empty. It was inhabited by beings we might call fairies, and this is where modern ideas have done them a bit of a disservice. These weren't the Disney version. They were ancient, beautiful, powerful beings, sometimes kind, sometimes very dangerous. And they always seemed to know more than humans did. But here's what fascinates me. The stories rarely describe them as attacking people. Instead, they invite them in, or lure them, depending how you look at it, to a feast, to a dance, to stay just a little while. Because once someone crossed into the Otherworld, they were no longer living by human time. And over hundreds of years, storytellers kept returning to exactly the same idea. Someone disappears. They believe they've only been gone a few hours, or perhaps a few years. They come home and discover an entire lifetime has passed. That wasn't a rare detail. It was the point. Which brings us to one of Scotland's oldest stories about exactly that. Old stories all seem to agree on one thing. The Otherworld rarely announced itself. There wasn't a gate or a doorway or some glowing portal hidden beneath a hill. Instead, it called to people, usually with music. One Scottish legend tells of an ordinary traveler making his way home after sunset. There's nothing unusual at first, just another walk along a road he'd taken countless times before. But this night, he hears a fiddle. It's neither close by nor far away. It seems to radiate from all around him. The tune drifts across the hills like the wind itself, and it makes him pause. Maybe there's a wedding, a harvest feast, someone celebrating. He brushes it off, keeps walking. But then comes the laughter. It's warm, joyful. He leaves the road. He's totally drawn to the music, almost as if in a trance. He crosses one hill, then another. The music grows louder and louder until suddenly he sees them. A great circle of dancers surrounding a blazing fire. Men and women dressed in brilliant clothes, beautiful faces lit by the flames. A fiddler plays a tune that somehow never seems to end. No one looks tired, no one stumbles. The dance simply continues, as though it has always been happening. Then someone notices him. A young woman smiles, reaches out her hand. No questions, no introductions, just an invitation. And he accepts. Soon one dance becomes another, Someone hands him a drink. The laughter grows louder. Whatever worries he'd carried into those hills, they simply disappear. Eventually, the fire begins to burn low, and our traveler thanks his hosts, says goodbye. No one stops him, no one begs him to stay, they simply watch him leave. Smiling, he starts walking home. But almost immediately, he notices a change. The world feels different. The path he knew like the back of his hand is now unfamiliar. The trees have grown impossibly tall, and when he finally reaches his village, nothing is where he remembers it. So he asks where his family lives, and no one knows who he's talking about. He asks about his neighbors. Nothing. The villagers begin looking at one another, confused, uneasy, until one of the oldest among them finally speaks. "Those names," he says, "I know them, but they're from an old story." He explains that generations earlier, a young man had vanished while walking home after dark. Some believed he'd become lost in the hills. Others whispered he'd wandered into the Otherworld. No one ever saw him again. And it's then the traveler realizes he isn't hearing a stranger's story. He's hearing his own, told as legend. The fair folk don't imprison him in the Otherworld. They don't even lie to him. They simply invite him into a place where time obeys different rules. And when he chooses to leave, human time is waiting for him. If our first story is about accidentally crossing into the Otherworld, this one is about choosing to go there. And it's probably the most famous tale of lost time in all of Celtic mythology. Oisin wasn't an ordinary traveler. He was a warrior, a poet, son of the legendary Fionn MacColl, one of the great heroes of the Fianna. One day, while riding through the countryside, he sees a woman approaching on a white horse. She doesn't seem surprised to find him. In fact, it's almost as though she's been looking for him. Her name is Niamh, and she comes from Tir na Nog, the land of eternal youth. She tells Oisin she's heard stories of his courage. She's crossed into the human world for one reason, to ask him to return with her. And like so many heroes in mythology, he accepts without asking what it will cost. He simply climbs onto the beautiful stranger's horse and rides into another world. Together they ride west, across the sea itself, until Ireland disappears behind them, and another world begins. They enter Tir na Nog, or the Otherworld, and is described as a paradise parallel to our own world. Green hills that never fade, endless feasts, no illness, no grief, no one grows old. Time still exists, but it doesn't seem to leave a mark. Oisin falls in love with Niamh. They marry, years pass, or at least they seem to. And all is well until Oisin begins thinking about Ireland. He misses his father, his friends, the Fianna. He wonders how they're doing, whether they still remember him. Niamh sees the change in him. She knows he wants to go home, so she agrees. But before he leaves, she gives him one warning. "You may return to Ireland," she says, "but whatever happens, do not touch the ground. Stay on the white horse, no matter what you see." He promises and rides home. Only, Ireland isn't the Ireland he remembers. The forests have changed. The settlements are different. No one recognizes his name. When he asks about Fionn and the Fianna, people don't answer as though they're talking about friends. They answer as though he's talking about someone from another age, a hero whose story has become legend. And in that moment, Oisin realizes what the traveler in the previous story realized. Time had moved differently in the Otherworld. The years he'd experienced had become centuries in Ireland, and everyone he loved was gone. Then he sees a group of men struggling to move a massive stone. and the old warrior in him can't help himself. He leans down to help, only the saddle slips and he falls. The instant his feet touch Irish soil, the centuries catch up to him. His hair turns white, his body withers, his strength disappears, and every year that had been waiting for him arrives in a single moment. And one of Ireland's greatest heroes dies, not because he entered the Otherworld, but because he couldn't stay there forever. So who exactly are the fair folk? They aren't monsters. They rarely force anyone to do anything. They simply invite people across the boundary and never explain the cost. Niamh never tells Oisin that everyone he loves will already be dead when he makes it home. The dancers never warn the traveler that a single night will become centuries. They aren't exactly lying. They're just leaving out one very important detail. Here's what fascinates me most. Look at the pattern. An ordinary person crosses into another place. Time feels completely normal while they're there. Then they return, only to discover the world has aged without them. Whether you believe these stories literally happened or see them as mythology, that pattern is remarkably consistent. It appears in Scotland, it appears in Ireland, and we'll eventually discover it appears in cultures all over the world. Long before anyone imagined relativity or alternate dimensions or wormholes, people were already asking the same question. What if time doesn't move the same everywhere? The Celts answered that question with the Otherworld, a place existing alongside our own, where time obeyed different rules. What's remarkable isn't that they believed such a place existed. It's that generations of storytellers, separated by geography, centuries, and changing cultures, kept returning to almost the exact same idea. A beautiful invitation, a journey beyond the ordinary world, a joyful visit that feels far too short, and the heartbreaking realization that everyone waiting for you at home is already gone. Maybe those stories were attempts to explain experiences people couldn't understand. Maybe they were metaphors for how quickly life passes. Or maybe the old storytellers meant exactly what they said. Maybe somewhere beyond the mist, there really was another country, a place where time moved differently, a place you could enter if you happened to take the wrong path on the wrong evening. Either way, the oldest stories of lost time were never about machines or physics or science fiction. They began on lonely roads in the Scottish hills with a distant melody drifting across the dark. I'd like to tell you I'd ignore mysterious music coming from a Scottish hillside, and I'd like to think I'd make the sensible choice and not follow it into the darkness. But after spending a week wandering around Scotland, I'm not convinced. Some places have a way of making old stories feel just believable enough. And if you've ever experienced missing time, a strange coincidence, or a story you still can't explain, I'd love to hear it. And if you're enjoying Time Slipped, be sure to subscribe on YouTube, Spotify, or wherever you listen. That's it for this episode. Thanks for listening. I'm Nikki Rich. Until next time, if you ever find yourself alone and you hear beautiful music where there shouldn't be any, maybe just keep walking.